When you truly, truly desire an outcome, whether it's connection in a relationship in your parenting, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your health, whether it's a business or a career move and a pivot that is required, the strength of your decision making is important. And I truly believe that people choosing not to make decisions is what causes decision fatigue. All right. Hello, ladies. So let's just talk about the pink elephant in the room. I guarantee you, because I'm not listening to it, but the audio quality is not at its peak. And this was a side effect of decisions that were made and shit needed to get done. I'm going to tell you, this is the second time I've had to record this podcast. I'm in a completely different location. I have lost my microphone. I've lost 2 microphones, and I had to make some decisions. And one of the decisions that I had to make was to persevere. I had to make a quick decision to get things done, even though if it wasn't the quality or the situation that I wanted. Perfection was not going to win today. I actually, last time I recorded this, I had a different topic and I was sitting with it when I knew I needed to re-record this episode. I was sitting with a lot of what I've been noticing in my clients lately and women in general. And I like to speak about the things that people don't like to talk about. I like to talk about the identity and becoming journey of actually achieving a desired outcome. And I see a lot of people investing in systems and processes and information, but very few people actually invest in integration. And when I talk about integration, I talk about the becoming journey, like the application of a skill. So a perfect example of that is, you say you want to take better care of your body. So you think you need to get a gym membership, or you think you need to get better clothes, when in reality is you just need to put shoes on and start walking outside. When the reality is you already have resources to do the thing and see results, but there's a reason why you're not seeing that result. And that result is all about integration. It is about the subconscious mind, and it is about who you are when you're becoming. And that's what this whole podcast is about. And that's why I call it emotionally uncomfortable, because where you are now to where you want to be is radically emotionally uncomfortable. And in order to get to where you want to go, you have to do the emotionally uncomfortable work. So let's talk about indecision for a moment. I want to share a story with you because I think all awareness comes with decision making. So my family and I are living in Mexico for 3 months, and we are on, week 2. I think we're headed into our 3rd week. And it was actually earlier today. And I had a moment. I haven't had many of these moments while I've been here. And I've traveled a lot previously, whether it's solo or with other people. And I had a moment where I was watching my own behavior, but I got lost. I had to go to an appointment, and this was the second time that I was at this location. But the first time I showed up almost 45 minutes late to my appointment because the Google Map link that I had, the location, wasn't bringing me to the right place. And every time the person was trying to tell me where it was, of course, I didn't understand because I couldn't read the street signs. I was just like really overwhelmed by understanding the street signs and how it all worked. So I promised myself, I made the decision that I would never do that again, in the sense of next time I'm going to know where I'm going, and I'm going to get here on time. Mainly because I was living out of alignment with my values, because I highly, highly respect respecting other people's time, and it just makes me feel horrible. It's not good for a first impression. It's definitely not great for my nervous system. And so I really was like, okay, Heather, you're not going to do that next time. So this morning, I had to go to this appointment again at this location. So my husband was driving me. We used the Google map and I was like, okay, we got this. We know where we're going. And I didn't pay attention, but it brought me back to the same location. And part of it was she told me last time, she goes, "Oh, you were using maps in your iPhone." She goes, "You always use Google Maps. Google Map will get you to where you want to go." So I just used Google Maps this time using the same link that she gave me, the same location. I thought, okay, I wasn't paying attention, but I was like, I'm using Google Maps, so it's going to work now. I've been here once before. Well, little did I know that it was not bringing us to the right location again. And we went to the location. We were on time, but it wasn't the right location. So I could feel my body going from green to red. Like I was in my green zone on the way to the appointment. I was feeling fine. And I could feel myself going into the red zone. And the story that I was telling myself was, oh my gosh, I promised myself and promised this person, like, I am not this person. Trust me, I'm not this person. I'm never late. And I was so angry and so frustrated with myself that I was like, okay, here we go. Now, I want you to hear me when I say this because this is where decision making happens. When you go from green to red, this is where the magic happens. This is the messy middle. And how people deal with this messy middle is I can tell what type of person they are. I can tell what their life is going to look like. I can tell how quickly they're going to achieve their desired outcome. I see this all the time in sales calls. I see this all the time in my children when they have to follow through with something. I see it all the time with a client when she is about to have a breakthrough. Who you are when you have to make an emotionally uncomfortable decision says everything about how quickly you will get results. I'm going to say this again. Who you are when you need to make an emotionally uncomfortable decision says everything about how quickly you will get results. So in that moment, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm going from green to red. I triggered the story I'm telling myself. I don't even know the stories I was telling myself, but I was just so frustrated, mainly at myself, because I was like, Heather, you did it again. How the hell did you end up at the wrong location? I wasn't projecting onto my husband. I was like, I'm going to fucking figure this out. So I made the decision to get out of the car because I was already late. I knew I was only a few blocks away and there was traffic. So I just said, don't worry about it, honey. I'll figure it out. And I had my map out and I was like starting to orientate myself and walk down the street. So little did I know that the place I was looking for was literally a block away. Okay. But I headed in the wrong direction. It wasn't showing me. So I was literally reading what she wrote. And she's like, we're between 10 and 20 or whatever it was. And then from the last interaction I had with her, I'm trying to read it. I'm rereading what she's saying. I have it pulled up on my phone. So then again, I'm in the messy middle. I make the decision to ask for help. So I asked for help. I asked 3 different people for help. All spoke Spanish and no English. Okay. Totally fine. I completely understand that. I'm the one here that doesn't speak their language. I totally get it. So I'm using Google Translate. I'm trying to communicate with them. I'm making the decision. Okay. And I'm not getting nowhere. I can tell by their body language that they don't understand what I'm saying. I'm showing them the map. They clearly either don't know what I'm saying or they just don't want to help me. So I make the decision to stop what I'm doing. I can now feel myself going into full blown red zone. I'm not outwardly angry. I'm just fucking pissed. And I'm like, I did it again. Time is ticking away. And I remember this moment, and I'm going to share it with you, and I want you to listen to me. I remember this moment where it was like, okay, Heather, you just like full send, lock in and figure it out and go through this emotional discomfort. Or walk out. Let's get over this. This appointment was like for my eyelashes and my eyebrows. It was not a life-saving appointment by any means. So I was like, who fucking cares? Who cares if my eyelashes and my eyebrows don't get done? This like it's not that important. So I am just going to tap out. I'm going to tap out. And something inside of me was like, if you're going to tap out when shit gets this uncomfortable for something basic as an appointment like this is not a crisis situation, but you're really uncomfortable. I just want to give you background that I felt safe in the area. That was not an issue for me. I didn't feel like my physical safety was in harm. I was just annoyed that I was late. And I felt bad towards the person that I was, in my mind, disrespecting her time. I was texting her. She didn't text me back. Anyways, my point was I could feel it. I could feel the moment, this like gap between are you in or are you out? And I remember saying this to people, are you in or are you out? Like, are you committing to this journey and the result that you want, or are you going to run away from it? And in the moment, I was like, just commit, Heather. Like, worst case, you show up and this woman's like, sorry, I can't take you. And I'm like, no problem. I want to pay you for your time regardless. But I was like, just be in it. I'm like, this is the life skill. This is the repetition of the muscle that you need to develop of just being all in and figuring shit out. So I was like, okay, commit. And I sent my husband a text and before I committed, and I said, I can't fucking find this place. Come pick me up. And I sent it. And then there was a gap and then he texted me back. And I was determined. And I was like, just the only way out is through, Heather. Just find this damn place, even if you can't go in to the appointment. So I found another location that I've been there before. I went in and I said, hey, I'm looking for this place. Do you know where it is? And they're in Spanish. They're like, yes, it's around the corner, like a block down. But the way that they said it to me, of course, I couldn't understand them completely. So I'm like, I think I'm in the right direction. I could tell I was close. So I kept walking, I kept walking, I kept walking, and then I found it. And I walked in to this place. I said to my husband, I fucking found it! Exclamation mark. I was so angry. But making the decision was not yet over. I want you to hear me. I kept making a decision. The only way out is through. 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 But I had to make a decision once I got in. I knew I was 30 minutes late for my appointment. I knew she was annoyed last time I was late. And I knew, how would I feel if somebody was like this, right? I can have compassion, but I also knew this is the second time I've done this to her. I promised her the first time I was not this person. I'm embarrassed by my own behavior, although I know it was a mistake. And I could feel like the uncertainty of how she was going to respond. And I was like, I can handle people in a crisis state or a red zone, but I just didn't want to deal with it. I was like, I am not going to deal with this. I'll pay for my session and I'll just walk out if she's going to react, right? So I walk in like a dog with a tail between my legs and I look at her and I say, I am so sorry. And I'm like, I'm so embarrassed and frustrated with my own behavior. I deeply apologize for being late. And her reaction was everything. She looked at me and she said, no problem. She goes, you're here now, and that's all that matters. And then I got on the table and she did my lashes. Now, I also want to reflect back to you that I could tell in that moment, she made a decision. She made a decision, and obviously she has emotional regulation skills, but she made a decision to react in a calm state. And because of that, she kept me as a client. I mean, she could have got really, really angry at me. She could have got frustrated. She could have said, you're wasting my time. Like There's so many things she could have said, but I also know that I would have still paid for her time, received no service, and would have left. But because she has calm communication skills, there was number one, it didn't disrupt the service. She still kept a boundary. She made another decision. She kept a boundary with her time. She didn't go over her time. She's just like, great, we're going to get less done than we would have if we would have had the full time together, which I totally respected. And then she goes, no problem. She goes, let's figure it out on your map. She even helped me. She's like, boom, let's pin it for next time so this doesn't happen again. Here's my fucking point. Do you know how many decisions were made today in that scenario, not only on my end, but somebody else's end? The decision to hold the boundary, the decision to react in a calm state, the decision to full send commit to finding this location, regardless if I got my appointment or not. And I've been thinking a lot about this, especially in this scenario. I mean, the decision for me to emotionally regulate, because once I was on the bed, I was like, okay, breathe. You're in a red zone. Let's get you back down to green. I was so embarrassed. And it took me a while to get back down to like a normal state. But someone outside of me probably wouldn't have been able to notice because this is the work I do internally. This is energy management. This is real time energy management. But I've been thinking a lot about this because I do believe that being successful is a decision. Achieving your goal is a decision. Achieving the outcome that you desire is a decision. And what I've been noticing in the last year, especially like whether political climates change, I've noticed this all the time, how people's decision making changes with the external state. And so, as the external state of culture or your environment change, I notice how people make decisions change. And this tells me one thing. This tells me that people are more addicted to their external environment than their internal environment. And I've often wondered, how is it that some people are so steady and other people are so up and down? And the reality is, when you are maneuvering your emotional energy to your external environment versus your internal environment, you will always feel out of control. Which brings me to the topic of manifestation and faith-based beliefs. When I first got into personal development, my first in was meditation and spirituality. And I noticed a huge block in that community where spiritual bypassing happened a lot to avoid making decisions. And then I started noticing in the faith-based community as well, where again, they were spiritually bypassing making decisions. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm very connected to something bigger than me. I think we can all have our own beliefs about it, whether you are religious or spiritual. I don't give a shit. But here is where I think people are missing the boat. Manifestation, the universe, God, source, faith based. I don't care. You still, as a human, need to make decisions. And life will happen to you all the time. But you can tell the quality of somebody's decision making when they are in emotionally uncomfortable scenarios and situations. And so oftentimes, and I'm not going to quote the Bible or a personal development guru here, so you can do that. But oftentimes, what I see is people making decisions outside of themselves when deep self trust and discernment is required in emotionally uncomfortable moments. That when you truly desire an outcome, whether it's connection in a relationship in your parenting, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your health, whether it's a business or a career move and a pivot that is required, the strength of your decision making is important. And I truly believe that people choosing not to make decisions is what causes decision fatigue. People choosing not to make a decision is what causes decision fatigue. Think about it this way. Every unmade decision of like, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll start Monday, right? I'll start next year, I'll start is an avoidance tactic. And when you choose to not make the decision in real time, you pay the natural consequence of unmade decisions. And so, oftentimes, a lot of our fatigue, which is a huge energy leak and a huge time suck, is literally coming from unmade decisions. And the last thing I wanted to talk about on this topic is how unmade decisions, when you get in the habit of not making decisions, if your challenge has been a challenge for you for over 12 months, it has now become an identity-based habit. So hear me out. This whole podcast episode today is about indecision and decision making. I talked about this in my group calls lately, and it was fascinating to see how people responded, the messages I received after, the decisions, the quick decisions people were making, literally the quick results that they saw because of it. I have seen people go from crazy situations to 12 to 18 months later, drastically changing their life. Whether it's literally in their marriage, their financial situation, their health situation, completely changing their whole life because of decisions that they made a year prior. The longer you don't make a decision about something, the more your brain rewires itself that not making that decision is your identity. So people will justify this. They will say, oh, it's just my personality. But personality just means personal reality. You can literally change your personality. I've seen it. I've seen it in people. I've seen it in myself. You can change your personality because you're changing your personal reality. I've seen people take personality tests and their personality changes when they make different decisions. Like physically, their whole personality changing and their results literally changing. And so when people introduce themselves through a personality test or even all the other tests, I know human design and things like that are attached to, your date and time of birth. My point is, don't be too attached with your current identity because your current identity is literally attached to your decision-making style. And you can change the way that you make decisions. And so for today, I want you to start thinking about, holy shit, I just made a choice not to complete a task. I just made a choice not to follow through and drink that glass of water. I just made a choice not to go for the walk today. I just made a choice not to reply to that text message versus I made a choice to drink the glass of water and it was really uncomfortable. I made a choice to get my shoes on and to go for the walk. I made a choice to email that friend back. I made a choice to pitch myself. I made a choice to walk out of the room when my child reacted. You're making so many decisions on a daily basis. If you begin to realize that these tiny, tiny micro decisions equal macro decisions, you're going to realize that this is how you show up. And then when you find yourself in little pickles, like I was lost in Mexico in a quote unquote safe environment. I mean, my life was not in a crisis state. But in that moment, I was like, Heather, you are the type of person that's going to figure shit out. And I'm serious. Although I got angry, I had that dialogue with myself. And I was like, no, you are the type of person that figures shit out. This is figure outable, Heather. You're going to do this. And even if you don't show up on time, you're going to find this fucking location and you're going to figure it out for next time. But I had a moment where I was like, oh, I am the type of person that figures shit out. That's not who I identified as years ago. Even a few years ago, was not somebody that could say with certainty, I'll figure shit out. Everything's figure outable. I'm resourced. I'll figure it out. So understand that these tiny, tiny, tiny micro decisions that you need to make on a daily basis, hire somebody, fire somebody, have the conversation, not have the conversation, eat the treat, don't eat the treat, reply to somebody, don't reply to somebody, hold a boundary in your calendar, don't hold a boundary in your calendar. I want you to get really, really good, really skilled at making fast decisions. All right. I want to know if this was helpful for you. I want to know what decisions you were having a hard time making. Send me a private message on Instagram. You know where I am at Heather Chauvin, Chauvin. And I think that's it. If you want more of this, if you want more of me, like this, subscribe, share it with a friend. And thank you, thank you, thank you for listening.